welcome to Twitch Tales Halloween Special 2022. Tonight's episode is a little bit different. Tonight's episode is a horror adventure story, and as such, some scenes may be distressing. If you need to skip, I understand. Keep yourself safe. So, welcome to Twitch Tales. Let's begin with the Halloween special. You are in a forest. It is dark. The sun is just setting. You're hunting. You need to eat. You have rations in your pack, of course. A responsible father like you wouldn't go on a hunting trip without anything to eat, in case you weren't successful. So you have rations, but you don't want to use them. The whole point of the hunting trip is to eat what you catch. So what are you hunting? You tell me, what are you hunting? Rabbits. Rabbits are nice and easy. A boar, an owlbear, a deer. You begin with rabbits because they're easy, they're simple, and they're easy for you to teach your son, Tanner, how to hunt. Tanner's 12 years old, and it's not the first time he's been on a hunt. But this time's a little different. You feel like there's a chance that since your wife remarried, your ex-wife, there's a chance that Tanner may start to grow apart from you. So you want to use this opportunity to bond with him. You still get along well with Lynette, but she and her new husband, Kane, need some time to themselves. You've gone on this hunting trip together to sort of bond, but Lynette and Kane will be staying in their own tent, and you are taking Tanner in yours. So you're hunting rabbits. I will roll you a survival check to see how well you do. With a 14 total, you manage to quite easily find the tracks of some hares, and you are able to point out to Tanner what it is that you're looking for. The sort of impressions in the mud and whatnot. The signs of the scratching on the trees and whatnot. Tanner's picking it up pretty quickly and enjoying the time with his dad. It's not long before you find the warren, and as the sun is setting and the night is getting dark, the rabbits are returning to their warren. It's dangerous to be out in the forest at night. You see one of them taking its time to forage for any last little morsels of bites to eat before heading back into its little warren. And so you take that time to try and grab yourself something to eat. You slide the bow off your shoulder, and you take aim. You tell your son, don't forget the breath. The breath is important. You draw back the bowstring and release an arrow. It misses the target, slamming into the ground about 3 inches to the right of the rabbit and scaring it. It immediately bolts. You blame your son, apparently. Well, remember, son, not every hunt is successful. We do what we can. Not wanting your son to go hungry, feeling a little disappointed in yourself, feeling like the embarrassment is starting to creep up, Tanner says a word of encouragement. That was pretty close, Dad. And then heads off towards the rabbit to get back the arrow. He pulls it out of the ground and picks some of the caked-on dirt off of the end of it and hands it back to you, which is useful because you only have 7. I think I heard something over here, he says, and starts to walk off in that direction. You can tell that he's trying to help you save face, trying to help you find the next thing to hunt. With a perception check, you walk on, finding Tanner leading the way, until eventually you see that he's stopped in a clearing. He's sort of half hiding behind a tree. You catch up to him and see that what he's looking at is a small hill that leads down to a snuffling pig at the bottom. How about that, Dad? He says. I think that'll do. You take your bow and arrow off your shoulder again, and and Tanner says, Dad, can I? And he holds out his hand. Do you let him take the bow? Do you let him try? Alright, let him have a go. He takes the bow and arrow from you. He draws it back. You help steady his aim. No word of a lie. Nat 20. Tanner takes the shot. His aim much truer than yours. Not only does it strike the pig, it strikes it right behind the cranium, digging itself into the brainstem immediately, and dropping the pig to the ground in a single shot. There is not even a squeal. The bowstring twanging seems to alert something in the woods, though, because at the same time there is a flapping of wings and a caw. A natural, like your father. You clap him on the shoulder and he smiles and says, yeah, we did it. And he immediately sets off down the hill. At least you do as I say and not as I do. The vigour of youth. You follow your son Tanner down the hill and retrieve your arrow from the back of the pig. You manage to get it back without it breaking. It's pretty well stuck inside of the pig's cranium, but pulling it pretty hard, you manage to slop it out of the brain matter and wipe the blood off on your cloak. This cloak needs a wash anyway. Now, remember what I taught you about gutting it? And you hand him the hunting knife. Oh, Dad, can you? And you say, it's part of it, Tanner. Okay, and he takes the knife from you. You get the odd feeling that something's watching you, and looking around, you see that there's a very large black corvid in the trees above you. It cocks its head. It's watching you intently. You don't think too much of it, but there's something about the way that it's staring that unnerves you a little bit. Your son takes the knife and squeamishly cuts down the outer flesh of the pig's chest and stomach. You see that its skin breaks open, and the blood pours out. There is so much blood. Your son, a little squeamish, steps back, and you can see him almost hold down a dry retch. It's alright. It's short work. Almost done. The skin peels back as though under tension as the organs start to flow forwards. You're doing fine. Remember what I taught you. You help him by bending down and grabbing one side of the rib cage and pulling. It relieves some of the tension on the inside and allows for a little space in the cavities of the internal spaces. Your son, with a very squeamish look, starts to poke and prod about, and thinking baby steps might be the way to go, you take the knife from him and start to relieve him of his duties. With a survival check, Net 1, with a Net 1 survival check, you are having a hard time finding the particular organs of this pig. You cut, you prod, you investigate within it. You're trying to find the heart. It is hot. Your fingers are almost burning from the heat of this blood. And you're also aware that the crow has not moved. It is staring at you. It's all just pretend to make him take over. Realise that our glasses are on our forehead rather than our face, and maybe that'll help. You cut away some of the organs and allow them to slop to the floor. Dad? You turn to see Tanner looking past you, past the pig, into the darkness. What is it? I thought I heard something. What did you hear? I don't know, it's probably nothing, he says. Thinking you better pick up the pace and now realising how dark it's getting, you decide to forego any of the vital organs. Usually you like to at least grab the kidneys and liver. They make for good eating. But it seems that you're struggling to find them among the rest of it. You also, unfortunately, have punctured the stomach in your prodding and poking. And the contents of the stomach are starting to seep out, and it is not a pleasant smell. Throwing caution to the wind, you simply just cut loose everything gooey inside this pig's internal cavities and decide to take only the flesh. Look, son, if we had a little more time and a little more light, I think I'd tell you a little about which of these organs are which. You kind of hand wave over this mess of offal that is now on the forest clearing floor. You grab the pig's, after sheathing your hunting knife, you grab the pig's front and back legs, and with a big strong with a big strong 6, you heave this pig, and then something clicks in your back, and and you take a second to stretch that out. As you're stretching this out, you realise the crow, the corvid, the raven, whatever it is, you've never been an ornithologist, but all you know is it's a very large black bird, and it is staring at you. The way that it's staring, you know that it's odd to think this because it only has a beak, but it seems to be smiling. No, not smiling. Smirking. Oh, you're back feeling a little better. You reach down and you hook the pig up and over your shoulders. This cloak definitely needs a wash now. You're just turning from the clearing when you hear something in the forest in the direction your son was listening. You turn to your son, and the confusion and fear on his face explains that he also saw it. He heard it, rather. You pick up the pace and deciding to head back to the camp. It's a happy farmer. Let's say hi. You decide to head back to camp as quickly as you can. You take the pig with you. Your son's still having the bow and the arrows. You make your way back to the camp. With a 17 survival check, you manage to find your own tracks. You manage to make your way back to the camp. And you're welcomed by a campfire. It's a welcoming sight given the feeling of this forest. But you can't help but notice that the crow has followed you. As soon as you left that little hill, that little clearing where you found the pig, the crow flew with, always keeping to the canopies until it gets to the outskirts of your little dell, where you see Lynette and Cain smooching on one of the overturned logs by the campfire. They see you enter and jump with a start. You scared the crap out of me. Oh, wow. You've really... to be honest, I didn't think that you'd come back with anything more than a rabbit. Well, it's old Tanner, you say. You helped me find it, Dad. You look back over your shoulder and see this crow sitting in the outskirts of a tree. As soon as you reach the side of the fire and drop the pig, it takes off and turns back in the direction it went. Can we shoot the crow once we set the pig down? You certainly can try. You set the pig down, and just as the crow is taking off, you grab the bow back from your son, pull out an arrow, and take a shot. It strikes it with a 19 to hit. You strike the crow, or at least you're sure you did. That arrow seemed to pass right into the crow's wing. The crow seemed to react as if it had been hit by it. You swear it was a direct hit. But the crow kept flying. You don't know of any crow that could keep flying in that way. Maybe you hit a branch in between you and the crow as it took off. It had to have hit the branch. You head over to where you shot the crow to get your arrow back, and you find it snapped on the floor, shattered, as if impacted something tough, as if you'd shot it at a rock wall. You're down to 6 arrows. You go back to the campfire, and Cain says, "Oh, a pig not enough for you? You wanted dessert, did you?" And you sort of laugh it off. You see that he's already started work on skinning the pig. He starts spreading leaves and sticks around the camp to make noise when somebody approaches. I didn't like the way it was looking at us, you say, as you do so. The next hour or two pass without too much incident. You have this uneasy feeling down the back of your neck the whole time. But Cain and Lynette get the pig ready to roast on the spit and set up a spit above the campfire. Your son's telling stories of his day hunting with his dad. The night is very dark, and your son has gone to bed. It's just you and Lynette. Cain is already asleep as well. You're just talking, kind of like the old days. The farmer's in the dell. The farmer's in the dell. Crunch, crunch, The leaves start to make noise. E-I-I-D-O, the farmer's in the dell. You turn to the sound and see an old man. He walks into your clearing directly, walking with purpose. But he's not holding anything. He's not carrying anything. This deep into the woods, it would be unusual to have someone moving without any form of survival equipment. He doesn't have a bag. He doesn't seem to have weapons. Just the clothes on his back, and even those are ragged and torn. Dirty, like his skin. He's tall, and although he's elderly, he doesn't seem frail. He is strong and well built, and has sharp features. Leathered skin, dark hair and eyes, and straight white teeth. He smiles at you as he enters, singing the last line of his little verse. Friend or foe? Identify yourself. Do you need any aid? Oh no, I don't need aid. Mind if I join you? He says, walking across the clearing. He doesn't seem to actually require a response as he moves with purpose towards you. You keep yourself between you and your son's tent. Do you want to sit for a while, get some warmth from the fire? That'd be very kind of you, he says, and then steps over the log and sits right beside you, staring into the flames. Successful day for a hunt, he says, looking at the pig. Yes it was. These woods are dangerous. What are you doing walking around here at night? He smiles. You don't like the smile. He seems to enjoy the words you chose. He turns his head towards you and you can see into his dark eyes. You can see the fire reflected in them. But you can also see the fire is inside them. It's quite late to be wandering this deep into the woods. Yes, quite late. But it's okay. I'm an early riser. Gotta get your morning exercise in, haven't you? Quite. He reaches forward and with one of his bare hands digs into the side of the roast pig over the fire and tears out a huge hunk of flesh. He starts to eat. It is unsettling to watch. His mouth seems to slather, drool, saliva. The juices from the pig dripping down his chin, his grey, scraggly beard catching some of the flavour. Plenty to share if you need it, you say, after the fact. You're a beautiful woman, he says, looking across the campfire to Lynette, who's been rather quiet the whole time. She looks like the words are caught in her throat. She's not sure what to say. He looks past Lynette to the tents. More with you, are there? What do you say to that? You're welcome to stay for a few minutes, but it might be best that you be on your way after that. Oh, I won't be staying, don't worry. Just wanted to share in this beautiful night. Why do you want to know? Just making conversation, sir. He looks you up and down. his eyes taking you in, you feel violated from the way that he's looking at you. He removes the remainder of the flesh from his mouth and leans just almost imperceptibly closer to you before taking a big breath. I do love the forest, don't you? We quietly ready a dagger. Your hand slips down to your waistband where your hunting knife was. And with a 7 on sleight of hand and a 23 on perception, his eyes go with your hand. And then back up to meet your eyes. He's about a foot from your face. He just smiles. His smile shows far too many teeth. And his straight white teeth don't seem to match the rest of his unkempt appearance. For someone with this sort of body odor, someone with this sort of dirt on his clothes, you find it odd to think that he brushes his teeth. I'm all for conversation, but I do like to know the name of whom I'm talking to. You draw out your knife and cut off some of the pig, as if that's what your intention was all along. What's your name, stranger? I'm the farmer. And that's your name? That's what they call me, yes. How about yourself, sir? Here's some for the road. You hand him a chunk of the meat. You have to keep your weapons clean. Oh yes, you have to keep your weapons clean. I think it might be better for you to leave sooner rather than later. It's getting late. Yes, I'll be on my way. He gets up and walks between you and the fire, over to Lynette. And he reaches out a hand to grab hers. He does so as she tries to pull back, and then with a strength that betrays his athleticism, he pulls his her hand close. And as he lowers his head to it as if he's going to kiss her on the hand, he stops a few inches short. Lovely perfume. And then drops her hand and walks past her. As he walks between the tents, you can see that he is surveying them. The way that he looks at the tents is almost like he can see through them. He seems to be studying them. And then crunch, crunch. He leaves past your ring of leaves and out of the clearing. Lynette immediately stands from her tent and comes over to you and sits beside you. What the fuck was that? I don't know. I think maybe he's just been on his own in the woods for too long. A farmer, I guess. I wonder what he farms. She looks at you, shakes her head. It's not time for your jokes. What do you guys want to do? Do we know any history or legends of these woods? Nat 20. With a nat 20 on your history check, +1 for your history. You find that you come up blank on any specific stories. You know that this great expanse is a huge wood, an almost unfathomably large forest, miles and miles in many directions. There are a great many dangers, a great many settlements of small kinds out here in this great expanse. There are stories of a number of fashions. What your Nat 20 history gets you, though, is that there are rumours that the Great Expanse, in the section that you're in the sort of north-east of the Great Expanse, there are rumours that it is one of the best places in the world to hunt. In your time here hunting in the last few days, you've found lots of animals, but no more so than in any other part of this forest. You hiked a good few days to get to where you are now, the rumours being that it's one of the best places to hunt, but you're not sure why the rumours came about. You haven't seen evidence of that. Can we discuss keeping watch with Lynette? I think we should keep watch, just to be safe. Oh, you're damn fucking right. Keeping watch. You just keep Tanner safe, okay? Of course. Meet any other hunters during these days of travelling? No. It's a very isolated part of the forest. You know that there is a village, a small elven village, about 2 days to the southwest. So you keep watch through the night. We'll get out of here at first light, you say as you enter your son's tent. No reason to stick around these parts. I don't much like the company. Yeah. She seems to agree. She's shaken. How many weapons have we in total? Each of you has a hunting knife, and you and Kane have a bow. Your wife has some kitchen utensils. Your ex-wife, I should say, has some kitchen utensils and the chopping knives and things. Are any of our weapons silvered? No reason that they would be. What is the phase of the moon? You look up to see that the moon is waxing. It is a waxing gibbous moon. It's probably 2 nights before full. As you sit in your tent, shuffling your bottom into the sleeping bag bedroll and looking at your sleeping son, you hear the slightly muffled sounds of Lynette shaking Kane awake and explaining what had happened. You hear Kane get up and leave the tent, and then you hear crunch, crunch as he leaves. There's a distant crow, and then crunch, crunch. You hear Kane returning moments later. You hear his footsteps walking around the campfire. You hear the shifting of wood in the fire as he clearly draws out one of the flaming logs. And then crunch, crunch, crunch. The sounds of the forest seem louder, or perhaps it's because you're on edge. Eventually you hear footsteps returning, and the light flickering through the canvas of your tent seems to indicate that someone holding a flaming torch comes back. You hear him drop it onto the fire, and then some strong fingers come through this side of your tent and peel it back, and you're looking at the very tanned face of Kane, your ex-wife's new husband. Oh good, you're awake. And he nods his head out of the tent. You shuffle out of your sleeping bag and out towards Kane and drop the tent flap and walk a few paces away so as to not disturb your son. What the fuck happened? He seems to be concerned, obviously, for what had happened, and you explain as best you can all the details that you remember. Fucking creep, he says. You're alright? I'm alright. I think we should move on first thing in the morning. Yeah, I agree. I'll keep watch. I feel like I slept enough and I don't think I can sleep now. I want Lynette to be rested. Yeah, same. Do we know the song? With a 4 on the dice, I'm afraid not. But you soon will. Both of you flick your heads out of the clearing to see if you can hear where that was. It seems to come from a different place now. It seems to be around you, almost call and response. You're not able to pinpoint the direction that it's coming from. Is it the crows? You look up, and you do see crows. You see 3 of them standing, watching. Did you hear that, Kin? Yeah, I heard that. You heard it, yeah? It was like someone fucking whistling. We don't want no trouble. We're just here to hunt. He calls out into the nothingness. That's the tune the old guy was singing. He called himself a farmer, and he sang about the farmer in the dell when he was walking in. Yeah, Lynette told me. What weapons have you got? I mean, and he brings his hand down to his hunting knife at his belt. I got this. I got the bow. He walks over to the side of his tent where his bow was set. He takes it, stretches it between his legs, and strings it. The crows, I feel like they're watching us. He looks up and sees what you're talking about. The light barely flickering, barely reaching the crows. I think we should leave now. Yeah, I think you might be right. None among your number are magic users, Kelso. Do the crows look natural? They look large, but otherwise normal. No differently coloured eyes, nothing. You're about a 2-day hike northeast of the nearest settlement that you know of, Kindy. Everyone gets a torch. So, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to wake your son and wife and risk exhaustion by setting off now? Or do you want to try and brave the night so that people don't have exhaustion when you set off? How many hours till daylight? It's around about midnight, so maybe about 5. Set off now, risk it. Set off now, risk it. Wait, stay, risk it. Looks like we're going to have our first poll. Set off now or wait till light? Set off now comes with the risk of people getting exhaustion from not having a long rest. Wait till light obviously has the other risks. Let's see. I know that there's some people mentioning using silver for certain things, so let's see if you remember certain stuff. Another 4 on the dice. This dice has rolled about 3 or 4 4s today. With a 4 on the dice and a +1 to your Arcana, you have a 5 Arcana check. And it is not enough for you to come to bring to mind the various uses of silver in this world. You check on your son. He's sleeping soundly. His short mop of dark hair over his forehead. His face loose and relaxed. Not a care in the world. With 73% of the vote, you decide to wait till light. I don't think we should set off now, Kane. I know there's benefits, obviously, but I think whatever he is, he might be wanting us to leave the firelight. I don't know. I think maybe we don't let the paranoia get the better of us. A good hunter doesn't really move through a forest at night. Too easy to get lost. Yeah. Instead, you take torches and you place them around the camp. If you use your torches that you have in your inventory, they only burn for an hour. If you instead use some of the campfire wood and place that around, then you're not using your torches, but you're diminishing the campfire in the center. A few small campfires, sure. You take some of the wood. You and Kane work tirelessly for the next half an hour or so to move some logs around and make a few smaller fires around the outskirts of your village. Your little, well, hardly a village, your little settling. Do we bring salt? Are we superstitious? It may be a spirit-like entity. It could be. You had a 5 on your Arcana check before, so you're not exactly sure of any of that sort of thing, unfortunately. Anything we can use to replenish the wood? You would have to go out and find firewood. Can we use a torch or two to make our arrows into fire arrows? So use the tar from the edge of a torch to apply it to arrows so that you have fire arrows. Could be a good idea. Put me a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat if you want to do that. You have 4 torches between you all. If you want to use one of them to try and make fire arrows out of them. The fat from the pig could also work. Not unanimous, but the yeses definitely are in the lead. All right. Easily enough to do. You take one of your torches. You are down to 3 torches. You take one of them and carving it up using pig fat as well. You manage to make 4 of your arrows into fire arrows. You wait for the response. There isn't one. Several minutes go by as you work, as you set fires. 2 of the corvids have left. One of them has remained, watching. Position yourself so you can see both of the tents. Yes. Do you go to sleep at all? Or do you get a point of exhaustion? That is the next question. It seems Kane is intent on staying awake. Do you sleep? Yes or no? Cain isn't the boy's father. No, he's his stepfather. And to be clear, Cain and you have a decent relationship. There was a mutual understanding when Lynette and you divorced. With 63% of the vote, it's been long enough between whistling and sounds that you decide it's time to sleep. You tell Cain that you'll be right here if he needs you. You crawl back into your tent and hug your child close to protect him as you fall to sleep. You wake in the morning, Cain not having woken you for any reason. You had an uneasy night, somewhat restless. At one point you, in a half-waking state, could have sworn you heard a deep laughter from far away. Slipping in and out of sleep all night, you wake in the morning, and it takes a second or two for you to realise what woke you, until you realise you're already 2 lines into the next verse. The farmer wants a wife, E-I-A-D-O, the farmer wants a wife. Immediately you are up and you are out of the tent. It is first light, it is morning twilight. It seems you've slept through the night for the most part. And although you are tired, the adrenaline is kicking in. As soon as you are out of the tent, you can see the dying fire, and you can see Cain pacing the outside of the camp. He has heard it too, and he is looking for the source, but he does not want to leave the protection of this clearing until he sees you. He gestures, and then he shoots off into the forest. Noticing that you're awake, he leaves you in charge of looking after this as he goes off to try and find it. Mask the perfume. You go to her tent and pull it back, and you see Lynette lying there, eyes open. She startles when you pull the tent back. Sorry, I didn't mean to... What the fuck is happening, Peter? We're leaving, Lynette. Come on, up. And she starts to get up. Don't put your perfume on today. She starts to immediately roll up her bedroll and get ready. Starts to pack away. We stay calm, we don't panic, okay? He's just a lonely old man wanting to play tricks, okay? He's just wanting to make us panic for his amusement or something. Can we use the perfume on a wild animal? Very smart, Rikiru. You can definitely do so. It would require tracking down a wild animal and getting close enough to spray perfume on it. While Lynette packs up her tent, you walk to your son's tent and wake him and start to pack away your belongings as quickly as you can. Don't worry about the tents, leave them. What do you think, guys? Thumbs up, yes. Thumbs down, no. You know that it's at least a 2-day hike between here and the next town. You can hike through the night tonight, in which case you wouldn't need the tent. Is one of you wearing the leather armor? Yes, you are. Yeah, and Cain is as well, I should mention. Cain has his own inventory, as it were. Alright. No people saying don't leave the tents. So, you gather your belongings. It takes about 10 minutes at most before Kane is back and the tents are packed. Well, as packed as they can be. You know that it's not good for the canvas and the tent poles to be stuffed as much as they have been, but once must. You kick the dirt over the fire as the sun is now raised. You are under the shade of the trees still. And then you set off into the forest, hiking in the direction of the elven villages in the south. It's a pleasant walk. So much so that you start to ease the tension in your chest. You can hear birds tweeting. You don't see corvids hunting you. You can't hear whistling of anybody. Lynette is doing her best to keep spirits up. She and her son, are singing together. She's trying to keep him from being aware of what sort of dangers are around. It almost feels like it was part of you, part of your mind. That perhaps it wasn't as bad as you thought. Until there is a cracking sound, like a whip. It's mid-morning, and your son goes down hard. There's a yelp of surprise from him, and then nothing else as he hits the ground. You rush to his side as does your wife. And you can see that he's just unconscious. He's not bleeding. There's nothing that you can see that has hit him. You draw out your bow and spin as your wife tries to tend to him. Kane is immediately taken off in the direction that he heard the crack. It seemed to come from somewhere nearby. Your wife's checking him over with a medicine check. And you are looking around the forest with a perception check. Get back here, Kane. We need to stay together. Kane has exhaustion, yes. With your perception check of 11 total, you hear Kane's footsteps returning. He seems to be running back to you. He's sprinting back to you. He's moving really fast. That's not Kane. As he comes bursting through the forest, you see a huge, dark, black-haired wolf as it dives from the side of the forest line directly at your wife, your ex-wife. Roll initiative. I'm afraid that was a 2 on the dice. You have a +1 initiative. No word of a lie. Nat 20. Nat 20 for the wolf. Insane. The dice are really working with me today. You spin around, the arrow cocked, looking towards the wolf, but it is just purely too fast. It reaches your wife in a matter of the blink of an eye, smashes its entire form into her, and its slathering jaws bite down hard on her neck. She's bowled over backwards, and with it, she topples, tumbling and rolling. And when the motion stops, It is standing above her, clamped around her clavicle, and begins to drag her away. She's screaming. She is not dead. You can see blood. It is now your turn. What do? Shoot it, loose an arrow. 5 on the dice, with a 1 for dexterity and 2 for proficiency, takes it to an 8. With an 8, the arrow goes flying, and reminiscent of your miss on the rabbit yesterday, it hits into the trees. Missing and hitting one of the trees means that even if you were to find it again, it would probably not be very useful for hunting. You're down to 5 arrows. Cain comes rushing back as the wolf continues to drag. The size of this wolf is unfathomable. It is black and large and huge. It's more like a black bear than a wolf. It doesn't seem to be hindered in any way by its new load. In fact, as it gets to the line of the trees and Cain returns, with a single motion of its head, she is flicked up and onto its back. He's still got her clamped in his jaws, but now his head is turned over his shoulder, holding her on his back as he turns and gallops into the forest. That's another 5 on the dice for the attack from Cain, as he looses an arrow after it. He also loses one of his arrows. It's now your turn. What do you want to do? You should let Tana shoot instead. Yeah. Alright. Enough of you are calling out for a new dice, even though that's not how dice work. I will appease the audience and change to a new dice. Check on our son. Is he breathing? Medicine check. 12 on the dice, plus your medicine modifier. That is enough. You are able to see that Tana is breathing. You can also see with your medicine check that there is a thin piece of metal sticking out of his throat, just off to the side. What do you want to do? Is it a dart? It seems to be, yes. Sniff at the metal dart. You remove it from his neck. It comes out easily. It is a long, thin piece of metal, and on the end of it, a very thin, what can only be described as needle, sticking about an inch into his throat. It does not seem to be in his artery, just to be clear. It seems to be in the muscle of his neck right here. You remove it and sniff at it. There is definitely like a bitter tang kind of hits your nostrils. It seems that somebody shot him with a dart. You see his eyes starting to flicker. You grab him by the scruff of the neck and lift him. He is raised to his feet. What? Dad, what happened, Dad? You're okay, Tanner. You're alright, just come on, look at my eyes. And he slowly comes round. As he's staring at you, you can see his eyes are unfocused. Cain has taken off. Cain is tracing. Cain is running futilely after a wolf. What is the dart made of? Metal. It seems to be solid metal. Some kind of alloy. Like a refined iron, perhaps. Probably steel of some sort. Either you didn't have high enough perception, Capalanca, or perhaps the things hunting you have a much higher stealth than you. Is the wolf leaving tracks to follow? Seems to be, yes. Whether it's doing so intentionally or not. The wolf is too fast for us, but an experienced hunter, we can follow the tracks. You could certainly try and track it if you want, yes. Kane is not around. He is set off running after this wolf. You are alone with your son. Save the dart, maybe we can use it on the wolf. Smart. Smart. You pocket the dart. Get Tanner to safety first. Give chase. Don't split the party for too long. Tanner's a priority. You have a lot of conflicting thoughts in your mind. Do you go after your ex-wife and her new husband? Do you take your son away from that to safety? You're still at least a day and a half hike away from the nearest town that you know about. There may be other settlements that you don't know about. I need you to stay calm. Don't panic. He explained what happened to Tanner. Something hit you in the neck that I think knocked you out. And Mum has been... she's been attacked by a wolf. Kane is going after it, you say, in response to his immediate shock. Kane's going after it. She's going to be okay. It's just, this is one of the dangers of hunting. We still don't know the song. You do not, I'm afraid. We're putting it to a poll. Go after the wolf or continue towards the village. Where to go? After Kane and the wolf. After Kane and wolf. Or continue south. Wolves hunt in packs. They don't behave like that thing did. Let me make a nature check for you. That was a 7 nature check. It is enough, even with a 7. It is enough to know that, yes, wolves don't usually act like that. With a 7 nature, you can tell that that wolf was acting out of character for a wolf. Your wife told you to make sure Tanner was safe. She did. Since it's more of a kid's song, would the son know the song? With a 14 total, Tanner does know the song, but he hasn't heard it yet. With 63% of the vote saying to continue south, you turn your head back towards the direction that Kane took off, and then putting your son's arm around your shoulders, you half carry, half walk with him to the south, as his legs are coming back to him. Do you tell your son about this song? All he's heard is the whistling. We say a small prayer for their safety. We do indeed. Who are you hunting? Who are you praying to? You tell Tanner about the situation. Tanner, there's a man we met last night after you went to bed. He came to our camp and ate with us. He called himself the farmer and was rather creepy. You explain some of the situation to him. He seems confused as to how it relates. You stop for a second in your description, but continue walking as you say a little prayer silently to Altamez, god of the hunt, to watch over you. You then move on to Gladlix Veranda, goddess of luck, to grant you the luck needed to get you and your family home safe. Praying to Altamez that his hunt will fail and yours will survive. You will survive your own. He seemed quite taken with your mother. I think he had something to do with this. He was singing a song, The Farmer in the Dell. The Farmer in the Dell And then this morning he sang "The Farmer Wants a Wife." I heard that this morning as I was waking. Why would he be singing that? That's a kid's song. I don't know. Do you know it then? Yeah, I know it. It's a song where you stand around in a circle and there's one person in the middle who's a farmer. And then you sing the song, and then the farmer sort of closes his eyes and spins around and points. And then whoever he's pointing at becomes the wife, and they join him in the center. And then you sing "The Farmer Wants a Wife." The farmer wants a wife. E-I-O, the farmer wants a wife. And then the two of them join hands and spin around, and together they point. And then that person becomes a child as they sing. The wife wants a child. The wife wants a child. You feel the colour leave your face as you hear the next verse. E-I-O, the wife wants a child. And then that person joins them in the middle, and then they continue like that until everybody's away. You feel your pace is picking up, even involuntarily, to yourself. We need to move quickly. We need to get out of here. Do you think he's coming for me? As he says this. Almost drowned out by the wind through the trees. You just hear one whistling coming from somewhere behind you. Don't worry about that, son, let's go. And you move fast. Throughout the day, the toxin in his system wears off and you pick up the pace because of it. You can move together at a much faster rate. You walk for many hours before eventually he is too starving to continue. Dad, can we? I need to eat. I feel like I'm weak. I can't. Okay, yeah. You find yourself a clearing just over the edge of some water. You cross over the river through some sort of stepping stones and get to the other side of the water, and then you sit down on the bank and you open up a pack. It is a decent size clearing so that you can see around you for a decent way. And you get out one of your rations. You give one of the rations to your son, and you take the other one yourself. You have no day's rations. Remember what I taught you when you were shooting. Control your breath and don't panic. Control your breath. Where's Mum gonna be? Mum's gonna be fine. Mum's gonna be fine. She's a strong woman, and Kane is even stronger. He's gonna. What if Kane can't? Kane can deal with anything. Okay, he's stronger. He's stronger than even I am. He's a strong man. You know that. We need to get you to safety. I'll come back to find her. Okay. Kane's looking for Lynette. Okay. Come on. We need to eat as we move. You start to place your belongings back away in your bag, and movement catches your eye. You see a raven fly overhead, and then seemingly double taking, it spots you and starts to circle, and then flies back in the direction that you came from. We need to move. We need to keep moving. You hastily place your things away and continue on. You walk for another few hours, hiking, marching essentially. It's past the afternoon and into evening when your son is starting to really slow down. He's starting to really flag. His legs shorter than yours, and although he's filled with the vigour and exuberance of youth, there's only so much energy that a day's rations can get you when you've been forced hiking since dawn. Disguise ourselves with leaves as we walk, tucking leaves into our hair and pockets. You think to do that and you grab a few leaves as you go past. The dice are really on my side today. That was a 7 on the dice. So I'm going to make it a survival check. It's still just not enough. You grab leaves and moss and things, and you're just like almost placebo style, trying to comfort yourself in thinking that it will do something. You know deep down that it's not going to do anything. You've probably got another hour or so until the twilight as the sun sets. You're pretty sure you've been going in the right direction all day. What do you want to do? If you continue marching at this point, you will risk exhaustion after a Constitution saving throw. Take whatever time we have left of the light to find a good hiding place. Sleep up a tree. Sleep up a tree. All right. You take 20 to find a large enough tree that can hold you, that's easy enough for you and your son to climb. And then you take another 20 minutes to craft your net into some sort of a hammock. And it's large enough for both of you to sleep in. Not very comfortably, but better than anything, better than nothing. You climb the tree. You hope that it's enough to keep the wolf away. I'll have you make a perception check as you keep watch. You try and tell stories to your son. Calming stories, fun stories, stories to keep his mind off of his current situation, hope that he can go to sleep. And the stories are distracting you somewhat. That was a 6 on the dice. Your perception isn't great, partly because it's getting dark, and as a human, you do not have dark vision. You don't have a campfire lit. You're just sleeping. It's not long before you hear crunch, crunch, crunch through the undergrowth. Something moving, something stumbling, something exhausted, panting. And then you hear him. Peter. 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 And he's moving. He's not seen you in the tree, but you can hear him somewhere out there in the darkness. Peter. He seems to be continuing past you unless you say something or stop him. You recognize his voice. It's definitely Kane's voice. Seems like we have a split in the synapses of Peter's brain. Announce your presence or stay silent. Could he have found us this fast? You are aware that you have been leaving a trail. You and your son have been moving very fast. And moving very fast through a forest is undoubtedly going to leave tracks. And you know that Kane is able to track pretty well. He is, like yourself, a decent hunter. Not the best, but he's okay at what he does. So there's a very good chance that he has tracked you, or something else has. We check to see if we can see him before we shout out. You can not see him. You're up a tree, and you don't have dark vision, and you don't have any form of light. It is nearly full moon, so there is some ambient light, but not enough to be able to see him wherever he is in the forest. He's not like he's passing directly under your tree. That would be bizarre. It's real close. With 52%, you decide to stay silent. as whatever it is continues past. Do we have a hidden throw your voice talent? Apparently not. You stay silent, and from the deep breathing sounds next to you, you can tell that your son is already asleep. As Cain moves off into the forest. We're a shitty human. I mean, needs must when you're protecting your son. Or at least that's how you justify it to yourself. As you hear his voice recede away into the darkness, and you wonder if it's the last time you'll ever hear him. You feel yourself drifting in and out of sleep. You're tired, and it's dark, and it's cold. The moonlight shining brightly above. The clouds shift at one point, and you can see it is the smallest of slivers away from a full moon. He didn't seem to have anyone with him, though. You're not sure whether you're dreaming it in your hypnagogic state. You're slightly delirious from the energy expent over the day and only being replaced by a single ration, a single set of rations. You're not sure if it's in your mind, if it's in your dream. When you wake, there's nothing that sounds like it should have been that. That one was more real, but sounded further away. It's almost drowned out by the sound of the water, the river that you crossed. That one sounded like it was on this side of the river. It's definitely real. Stay silent. Wake Tanner. Getting closer or further. Seem to be getting closer. Cover ourselves with leaves and dirt to give camouflage and scent masking. You did that as you walked. You covered yourself as much as you could with leaves and dirt. Stay silent, see if it goes past. You look down over the edge. The bright moon giving enough light to just about see the canopy floor, the forest floor. You see a dark shape. You can just about make a humanoid form crunching through leaves. You see its head turned upwards towards the trees. And the moonlight glints from its eyes. Yellow eyes. Eyes that seem to almost shine, like there's fire within them. You can't make out much, but you can make out sharp features. It's hard to know whether he's seen you or not, but his glinting eyes seem to be looking right at you. The wife wants a son. The wife wants a son. E-I-L-D-O. The wife wants a son. And he's still moving. If he was looking at you, he moves past and continues on into the darkness. I think tomorrow will be a good day for a run, you hear him say as he leaves. You stay quiet, you stay still. You let him keep moving. What do you want to do? The only sounds you can hear now are the wind in the trees and the fluttering of bird wings as you look up and some bird crosses over the moon. Or was it a bat? It's hard to tell. Which direction does the river flow? Downstream is the direction we're heading. It's sort of a east to west river, and you're heading southwest, so not exactly. Does that bird seem big? Relatively. Hard to tell scale, because you're not sure how far away it was. Did he go in the direction of Cain? He did, yes. Wait for a bit, then wake the sun and start moving after Cain. So a few people are saying that, so I guess... Oh, there's a couple people saying sleep. Alright. Sleep or move now. Sleep. I suppose there's an extra option. Sleep. Stay vigilant. Or move on. You have 1 minute to decide. Are you going to sleep? Are you going to stay vigilant, meaning you probably get a level of exhaustion in the morning because you haven't slept? Or are you going to move on now? Which again means you're probably going to get a level of exhaustion, but at least you're getting a head start on the day. You do not yet have a level of exhaustion, you are on the verge of doing so. You will definitely get a level of exhaustion if you do not sleep. We attach that dart we took out of Tanner to an arrow quickly. How are you going to attach it, Uberbauer? There's a thread in the medicine kit. Smart. Smart. You take your medicine kit, you take out a little thread, and you attach the arrow, you attach the dart to the tip of an arrow as best you can. Nat 20. It is very securely attached, with the needle pointing out from the front of the arrowhead. It definitely will pierce somebody if shot and connected. That is as good as you can do. With 81% of the vote, you decide to try and sleep. If he knew you were here, he would have surely done something as he passed. And if he knew you were here and didn't, then there's no reason to think that he will while you're sleeping. So you sleep. Thankfully your body needs it. Your body yearns for it, craves the release of all of this tension. And you find yourself drifting into sleep. The way the wind rocks the net. It's soothing but occasionally discomforting when the rhythm of it is broken. The way that birds take off from branches, the way that bats fly relatively close in pursuit of food, the way that they hunt the insects. These things pervade your dreams, affect you. In your dream you feel like you're on the edge of a cliff face, and there is something climbing it. You are too afraid to look over the edge, but you know that it's there. You know that it's climbing. You know that it's coming towards you. You know that it's getting to you on your little perch, your little outcrop of rock. There's little you can do. You're exhausted. You can't climb further, but it's coming up towards you. It reaches out a hand. Your scream is woken by this terror ripping through you as your son screams in pain. There is this dark mass near you that you can only describe as this slathering demon, this huge muscular creature is upon you. It is on the branch with which you sit, and it has got its claws deep into your son's abdomen. Blood is spraying from him as he tears. He tears up and he stares at you. You are swinging in this hammock. You are trying your best to try and get your thoughts together. What is? You can't. The thoughts aren't. Your words are. You lunge. You lunge. That's all you can do. You lunge. You grab this thing around the neck, and you feel warm human flesh under your skin. Its face is elongated and sharp. Its eyes glinting in golden light. You dig your fingernails into it as hard as you can, but it's like holding rock. It is slathering at the mouth, at the muzzle. This creature has this greyish fur on its face, this horrendous look to it that's partially human, partially beast. This creature is digging its human fingers, but canine claws into your son's abdomen and tearing, and you see blood. You see, in a very reminiscent way to the pig that you slaughtered yesterday, you see guts spilling. Your son is in utter shock as he stares at you, and you have your eyes locked on this creature, trying not to see it. You are shouting out for Cain. You are trying to bite. You are biting at this thing, but it's like biting something made of stone. It does not seem to even care that you're there. You are trying to bite it. You are trying to grab it. You realize you're doing nothing, so you flounder. You grab for your arrow. With a 19 total, you grab your arrow successfully and you stab it into his shoulder. As you stab it into the shoulder, it snaps immediately. This creature has stone for skin. It has fur growing in patches on his otherwise extremely muscular shoulders. But fur shouldn't act this way. Flesh shouldn't act this way. You cannot penetrate it. And then, finally, his gaze reaches up from you, from your son, into you. And it stares into your soul. You see the yellow glinting eyes, fire in them. As he pulls his body back, his hands deep into your son's chest cavity now. And then he smiles, the most blindingly white teeth glinting. He drops his body off the edge of the branch, and toppling with him, as if made of paper, your son falls into the darkness below. There is a loud thud as he hits the ground, and then as he takes off into the forest. You continue to yell for Cain. Cain! Cain! You are yearning to wake up. I will find you! I will destroy you! You shout after this thing. This living nightmare. It will not wake. You cannot end it. What are you doing? Go after it. Chase. Follow them. You clamber down. You immediately ignore all of your belongings at the top of the tree and half climb, half jump down this tree until you hit the ground hard and look for Tanner's body and find nothing. This thing did not take off into the forest alone, it seems. There is a long trail of blood as it dragged your son away. You're not sure you'll ever be able to get his last whimper out of your mind as his helpless look stared at you. You know that he was feeling it all. He was not unconscious. He was not dead, at least when he went over the edge. Get your weapons and follow. Alright. Launching yourself back up the tree as fast as you possibly can. You grab what weapons you can, leave the rest, and set off. You give chase. You run and run, chasing through the darkness. It's still like an hour before light. You grab the healing potion as well, yes. You grab the healing potion. You grab your healing potion, you grab your weapons, and you leave the rest. It'll slow you down. You run through the forest. It is not long before you hear chasing or running or galloping, or it's hard to tell over the sounds of your own feet and your own footsteps. Something is running alongside you. Something is running to meet you almost, running to intercept you. You can tell the direction to it, but you can't see it yet. What do you want to do? You are still tracing the trail of blood. You draw a weapon. A weapon such as a dagger, a hunting knife in hand, you can still run with. Drawing back a bow, not so much. Get ready to dodge, keep going. You keep going, running with the great speed that you can muster, until breaking into your path ahead, a dark figure in the darkness of the night. A large, muscular figure, and it seems to be coming right for you. The arrow didn't seem to help before. Let's stick it with a knife. Dodge aside and try and recognize who or what it is. Run to it. You do your best to sort of change course at the last second, and then thankfully he does a better job of recognizing you before you recognized it. As you sort of lunge to the side and your hunting knife goes out in its direction to protect yourself instinctively, he manages to slow himself and to a stop as he's pushing his momentum, his inertia towards you. He manages to slow that down and stop right before meeting the pointed end of your hunting knife, and you see a very tired, very bedraggled looking Kane, panting hard. What the fuck? What's happening? Where's Tanner? Where's Tanner? It has Tanner! It has Tanner! You start shouting and pointing. He doesn't stop. He turns and runs in the direction that you were running, and you run after him. You and Kane running together. I was sleeping in a tree. It got Tanner. You run. You manage to avoid exhaustion for now. The adrenaline in your system is enough. Verify it's him. How do you do so, Hyphen? It looks like him. He sounds like him. He's acting like him. He's dressed like he was. Try and tell him you couldn't stab it. I stabbed. Anyway, it's too hard. It didn't pierce. I stabbed it with. It wouldn't go into. It wouldn't take it. It's very hard to hold a conversation when you are sprinting at this speed. Unfortunately, you have to stop. You are on the verge of exhaustion now. That was a 3 on your Constitution save with a +1 for Constitution. And so you do not yet get exhaustion, but you do have the worst stitch, and you have to slow down to a stop. You hands on the knees, panting. Kane basically drops to his knees as well. Kane is on all fours. The trail of blood is all but gone at this stage. You've just been running on instinct as to the direction to face. It is still dark. You lost the trail long ago, and you were running just out of not knowing what else to do. Keep walking, but slow. We'll seize up if going still. You eventually manage to catch your breath enough to stand up straight, and you keep pushing on, walking with shaky jelly legs. Have you slept at all? You manage to squeeze out. He just shakes his head, still panting. He gets to his feet. What the fuck is happening? Were you able to find where it took Lynette? He shakes his head again. The farmer did say we would be running. He did indeed. What have you found? What have you found out? Fuck all, he says. It doesn't leave normal tracks. The tracks changed. The tracks changed. It was on all fours, and then it didn't, and then it wasn't. There was flesh left by. There was fur and like skin, like it had been skinned, like it was a wolf. It was skinned. There was a fur, and it was on the ground and had blood everywhere. And then from there, human footprints, bare human footprints. Tell him about the song that seems to be coming true. I think it changes in and out of wolf. I think it's one of the werewolf creatures that you read about. Based on what we saw attack Tana, the wolf attacked Lynette. Can we piece it together? Yes, you definitely can. It seemed to shed its skin. Yeah. Maybe we can only hit it when it's in human form. It was half human, half wolf when it attacked Tana. I don't know what it was, but it didn't seem to get hurt at all. Do you know anything about werewolf weaknesses? Now that you know what it's a werewolf, I'm going to give you another Arcana check. Fuck, these dice do not want you to survive. On your benefit, I'm going to swap it out because it was a 17 and went tick 3. So a 3 plus your Arcana of +1. Unfortunately, it's not enough. You do not remember anything from stories about werewolves being weak to anything. Full moons, are they weak to full? No, they're strong on full moons. They're humans that can turn into wolves. They eat people. Fuck you wish you knew more about stories like this. What does come to mind is that the rumours about this being a place to hunt may be true. The table's just not level. It was definitely a 17. I'm going to swap out. I'm going to bring up one of the Mel dice. Mel's going to imbue us with some better help. It's a skinwalker of some kind. Do you know anything about werewolves, Kane? Not with an 8. With an 8 plus his Arcana, probably less than yours. He's a little bit more of an outdoorsy kind of guy than you are. He doesn't know a great deal. He's probably got a 9 at most. Let's see, with a 9, would he know anything more than you? He would know that they're impervious to real physical attacks. They don't get hurt. They don't get hurt by physical attacks. You have to hit them with something, I don't know, magic or maybe fire or I don't know. Maybe fire. Maybe we don't have magic. So fucking if we can get to the elves, maybe they know. He does remember something. His face goes cold. You see, even in the moonlight, that his skin goes pale white as he remembers something. What is it? I remember it's a curse. Yeah? It's a curse that spreads through biting, injuring. You realize the same resolution that he's coming to. That means your wife and child may be in for a fate worse than death. Do you know how quickly? You say. Full moons. And you both look up together. At the very close to full moon. The sun is starting to rise. As you both sit here in this clearing, covered in sweat and blood. You look down at your hands and see your son's blood caking them right up to the shoulders, your entire arms, your torso. There was so much blood. Do you know how the song goes next? The farmer wants a wife. The wife wants a child. Do you know what comes next? With a 7 on the dice. He does not know the song. Which parts of our inventory did we not abandon in the tree? You abandon your tents, your bedroll. You have your medicine kit, your longbow, your 5 arrows, well, 4 arrows now. Your healing potion, and your hunting knife, and your armor. Everything else you left behind. Should we float down the river with our feet in front so they don't get caught underwater? We can bounce off rocks, make part of the trip faster. We can get from the elves faster, disguise our scent from the wolf in the water. Are we close enough to a village for help? You are about 1 day's hike away from the village. There's a chance that you can make it by nightfall, if you go in the right direction. But you also don't know exactly where you are or where the nearest river is. You've been running, sprinting into the dark forest. And that is one surefire way of getting yourself deeply lost in a woods. What do you want to do as the sun rises and the birds start to sing? As if nothing has happened, not a care in the world. Birds are flittering and forest critters are going about their business. Wolf whistle crossed the river, so it isn't anti-water. It seems not. Kane has 2 levels of exhaustion. Yep. Any corvids about? Not that you can see. We should move. We need to get more help. The full moon is tonight. People with magic, people who know more. Are there any signs of the elves this far out? Let me make you an investigation check. 18. 18 plus 1 for investigation. You do a pretty thorough investigation of the forest around, and you can see that there are markings on some trees. You don't speak Druidic, but if you did, you'd know what they meant. The markings are not recent. Pray to the elven gods. You sit and take a second to pray. Let's see with a religion check. 5 on the dice. Oh, wow. It's uncanny how many times we're rolling poorly. With a 5 on the dice plus your religion of 1, you don't really remember too much about the elven gods. You just pray to them as elven gods. Find a river. Get our bearings. Alright. With a survival check, you need to start moving, you need to do something. At the earliest dawning light. You set off with a 4 on the dice for your survival check. It takes you at least 2 hours to find any sign of water. And you were sleeping in a tree not that far from water. So you realise with that you are completely and utterly, hopelessly lost. I know that it's obviously my word that you have to take for it, but I genuinely have not fudged a single dice today. Like, this is, I'm telling you exactly as it rolls. The dice have decided that this is a horror story, I guess. That stuff lives in that tree now. Yep. It takes you 2 hours to find water. And when you find river, you wash off your son's blood, now very dried and caked on, sticky, tacky. You wash yourself as much as you can in the flowing water, and with the clearing that the water gives to the tree line and the canopy above, you can start to see more direction of the sky, more direction of the sun, where it is rising from, and from there gather your direction at the very least. The river that you're currently washing yourself seems to be flowing to the north. When we tracked Tanner's blood, you had already lost Tanner's blood, I'm afraid. You ran into the darkness at full speed. And you do not have dark vision. If our ex-wife and our son is getting the curse and maybe succumbing to it, shout out into the woods that we'd like to join the pack. It's an option. Kane, do you have anything to start a fire? I don't think he does. Let me think. He set off after the net. He does not. He dropped his pack as part of the chase because it was slowing him down and he was already exhausted. You can see as well that with Kane, the way that he's moving, he's slow, much slower. You can see that the exhaustion is taking hold. With 2 levels of exhaustion, your speed is halved. Wait, no, is that 4? Let me think. 1 level of exhaustion is disadvantage on all ability checks. 2 levels of speed is halved. 3 is disadvantage on all checks. 4 is your hit point maximum is halved. 5 is your speed is 0. 6 is dead. So his speed is halved, and he has disadvantage on all ability checks. Not that you need it. You also have a level of exhaustion. No, you slept. You slept, so you don't have a level of exhaustion. But you're damn close. So his help on finding water would have been useless, yeah. He's half speed and exhausted. We try and make a fire bundle to carry a smouldering fire for like 12 hours and find some flint nearby to create a spark with our knife and light it. Alright, let's try that. You set the forest on fire, you could try that. It is late autumn, so there are lots of crunching leaves around, and it's relatively cold, so you could try. Somebody said we're... wait, what? What are we doing? What are we doing? I need some choices from you guys as to what to do. Get into the water and walk downstream. Downstream would be north, away from the direction that you know the elves to be. A big fire would alert elves if they're around. Sure would. Find the crows. You've been looking out for crows all morning and you haven't seen any yet. Find help, get rest, and then go on a hunt in that order. Alright. You set off, walking in the direction of the nearest village as best as you can. Your survival was way too low to know your location. You just have managed to work out the direction that you're facing. Do we need elves specifically? You don't need elves specifically, it's just that that's the only village that you knew of in the vicinity. It's the last village you went to before you setting off on your hike into the forest, into the great expanse. Smouldering fire bundle does not make smoke, but does hold an ember for ages, so we can blow into a proper fire at any time for our fire arrows. Alright, we will try that, Batmurp. Let's do a survival check, see how good you are at doing that. You don't have disadvantage yet. Cool. That's an 11 on the dice, plus your survival of 1, and... survival of 3, because you have proficiency in it. So 14. With the 14, you are able to to bring up a spark, it takes you an hour to find the right firewood and tinder, and also without your tinderbox on you, it's very difficult. So it does take some of the old rubbing sticks together to get fire, and then burning that fire down to an ember, and you start a smouldering bundle that you can carry on your person. Lost our ex-wife and lost our child, burn the world. Definitely tempting, yeah. If this is a flat area, are there any hills to try and get a sense of where we are? It's relatively flat. The reason you notice the reason that you notice the area is called the Great Expanse, is that for dozens and dozens of miles around in every direction, once you're in the thick of it, it is without landmark. It is a huge expanse of flat forest that is relatively routine, relatively mundane from the outside. It's very difficult to get your bearings within it. The moon's location have given us a clue to direction. There is a sun in the sky, and you have from that the direction. So you know the direction you should be walking if you want to keep going southeast. It's just whether or not you want to keep going southeast is up to you. So you set off with Kane in tow, walking at a greatly reduced speed to try and to allow Kane to keep up with you. He's doing his best. He's really pushing hard to try and keep up, but he hasn't slept for 2 nights now. You're well past noon, and without anything to eat, you're starting to rumble. With a 15 total for you, and with disadvantage, a 10 total for him. The two of you hunt and forage as best you can to get yourself the meagerest of meals. As you're foraging for food and thinking out how to hunt, you manage to quite easily with a 15 track some rabbits, but you can't help feeling like you know what it's like now. There's something in the way that you are tracking these rabbits, the hunger that's in your belly to devour their flesh, to sustain your life. There's something makes you feel sick to your stomach about it. Eventually you find the rabbit, and it is nibbling at some plants. It's up to you whether or not you want to actually go ahead with the hunt. What do you think Peter would do in this moment? Peter. I didn't put that together, Kindy, until right this moment. Peter. Are we hunting the rabbit, or are we not? Arrows are no good for the wolf, so might as well. Need to become the hunter again. You need to remember what it's like to be the hunter, not the hunted. You thank Altamez with a nice prayer. Thank you for blessing my hunt. And then you draw back and fire. Much better this time. You strike the rabbit and kill it in a single shot. There's a twanging of the bowstring that rings out. Over the next 20 minutes or so, you sit down and skin this rabbit and gut it. You force yourself to not think about your son's insides spilling out onto the net hammock that you'd made for him, as the rabbit's insides spill out over your hands. But while you eat, you can't help but hear on the wind and you look up and see a corvid sitting above you in the tree, staring at you. What do you do? Give it some rabbit? You hold out a hand to the corvid with some rabbit flesh on it. It stares at you for a moment, and then takes off and flies down. It lands on your wrist, and its weight is heavy. You wonder how it flies under such weight. Its talons dig into you, almost to the point of breaking skin. We aren't moving. Come on then. Its beak goes down, and it pecks at the flesh of the rabbit. It turns towards you, cocks its head, and you swear again, it shouldn't be possible for a crow to smile like this. Before it takes off. Flies away as you apologize for shooting it before, and you're not sure if it hears you or acknowledges it. Kane is just staring silently, his head shaking, not sure what to do. What do you want to do now? Follow it? You follow it. You eat, obviously, your fill, and then you follow it as best you can. As you walk, it doesn't take long before you've completely lost track of where it was going. Man, the dice are really hating you today, which is amazing for me. With a 10 total on perception, you are walking in the direction that you know the Wood Elf village to be. It is about noon at this point, maybe a little after. And it's a little too late that you see the glinting of metal under the forest floor. You see it just as your foot is coming down on top of it. As it snaps shut the bear trap on your leg, you feel an intense, crushing pain, both piercing and bludgeoning, as it crunches down on your ankle as you set off a bear trap. You scream out in pain, and Kane suddenly whips around to see you. At the same time as the bear trap goes off, you hear a voice from somewhere near the woods. No, somewhere near the clearing. The child wants a dog. The child wants a dog. E-I-A-D-O. And you see the farmer pushing out of the clearing, out of the line of the trees. He stands there, entirely naked. His elderly human form not diminished by his athletic build, strong, muscular, hairy chest, arms like tree trunks, a glint in his eye, a smirk on his face. Kane turns to face him. The child wants a dog. And then he pulls up to his arms and digs claws into his own skin and tears downwards, and as though tearing away sleeves, his entire flesh comes off with his hands, blood pouring from them and leaving behind this furry skeleton beneath. He degloves himself and his arms grow longer and larger. This furry skeleton seems to grow out with muscles of its own. And as it does, his skin tears open. There is blood and viscera pouring from his skin as it tears apart. His face grows longer and his mouth bursts from his own mouth. His teeth
growing longer and sharper and even whiter if it's possible. His ears migrating up his head, splitting open as pointed ears grow from them. And he dives towards Cain. Take the knife and kill yourself. Alright, with a 6 on the dice for initiative, I swear to God, this fucking dice. I'm gonna put this one aside as well, just for the benefit of you guys. I'm gonna put this other, and I'm gonna get Mel's other dice. We've now gone through both of Apus's dice and both of Mel's dice. With a 6 on the dice plus 1 for initiative, and then he gets a 19 on the dice, and then Cain, I suppose. Cain gets a 7. Cain gets a 7. Needless to say, the werewolf's going to go first. In his hybridized form, covered in drenched fur, matted with his own blood, he launches himself forwards and grabs onto Cain. Not the greatest attack, but he does have he's got much more significant modifier than you. So he grabs a hold of Cain, his claws digging into Cain's chest. He tears him forwards and plows him into the floor, driving him underneath. You can hear a sickening crunch as Cain's legs collapse underneath him. He's latched on, and you are about 10 feet away with your foot caught in a bear trap. What do you do? It's you before Cain. What do you do? Cry. Knock an arrow. You knock an arrow. You take a strike. You aim true at its face. 11 on the dice. 11 on the dice plus your dex plus your proficiency takes it to a 14. 14. It hits, but it does nothing. It bounces off of the back form, this hunched, muscular form of this creature, much larger than his human form would, and it does nothing. The werewolf doesn't even seem to notice that you hit it. It is now Cain's turn. Cain is going to try and right himself, try and get up, try and get out of this thing's jaws with a contested athletics check. 14 versus 19. 19 beats. The werewolf does not relent. Cain is thrashing about underneath, and Cain is not a slight man. He has a +2, as in mechanical terms, to his strength. He is a relatively well-built man. He's kept himself healthy. He's very much an outdoorsy kind of a bloke, works with his hands. But he is finding no purchase on this wolf as he is torn into on both sides of his chest by some wolf claws and dragged backwards, crumpled almost scorpion-like under his legs underneath his own body, and he is screaming in agony as he's trying to thrash and push and pull himself out from underneath this wolf. You were pretty sure that the wolf didn't even notice your arrow strike it until the fact that it looks up at you. Its eyes meet yours. It smiles a hideous snarl that's even wider over its long, pointed muzzle. He opens his mouth and you see slathering saliva dripping from his lips. As a long tongue comes out, it reaches down to Cain's face. And he bites in hard. You see his long canines pierce into Cain's flesh on the front of his face. His maw seems to almost encompass Cain's entire head. But before he digs in too deep, he releases with his claws, holds with the front of his mouth, and then starts to walk backwards, pulling Cain's body towards him. Cain is still thrashing, but he is now caught face first in the wolf's mouth. The wolf does not break eye contact with you the entire time, as it backs away, turns and drags Cain with it, and then sets off running. Cain, like a rag doll, flopping between the wolf's forelegs as it runs. Can we shoot Cain in the neck, save him from this fate, if you want to? What do we do, guys? You have your turn. It is still within line of sight of you. You have, I think, 2 arrows remaining, maybe 3. If we kill Kane, it might get angry and kill us. Thumbs up to kill Kane. Thumbs down to not. Kane has at least half cover at this stage, maybe 3/4. Do we know some holy prayer? You didn't get a good religion check earlier, so no. Alright. Some people think of it. The synapses definitely cross Peter's mind to put Kane out of his misery. But you decide against it in the moment. You take aim. In your hand shaking, you realise that you'd have a very difficult time aiming at him anyway. Your hands go limp and drop to your side. And you look down at your foot, almost crushed, beneath this bear trap. It takes you a good 20 minutes at least to get this bear trap open under your fatigue and the adrenaline wearing off. You're shaking. You have a level of exhaustion now. Your foot is bleeding, but the pressure that the bear trap is placing on it is staunching it for now. But as soon as you manage to finally get it open, it starts to bleed. With a 12 plus 1 for your medicine check. Proficient in it, sorry, so a plus 3. So with a 15 total, you manage to staunch the bleeding. You manage to put a little tourniquet on your lower leg. You did have your medicine kit with you. You also had a healing potion if you want to fix up your leg. It's the only physical damage that you've taken, and walking on it will be a very difficult task. So if you wish to use your healing potion now, you can. Healing potion. Healing potion doesn't fix exhaustion, just wounds. Alright, so. Immediately you feel your wounds in your leg closing up, and you also hear as one of the ankle bones snaps itself back into place. It is not a pleasant feeling, but there is like this anesthetic sort of quality to the healing potion that prevents some of the pain of your bone resetting itself. You definitely can walk on this now, but you're still feeling fatigued. You're still feeling a level of exhaustion. It is early afternoon. You have the rest of the day. You want to keep moving towards the elven villages, I imagine? You grab yourself a walking cane, a walking stick, broken off of a nearby tree, and you set off towards the elves. You hike for the rest of the day. In a hazy daze of autopilot. Not sure how you're traveling or how you know where you're going, but you're just numb to the pain of everything. You barely even notice as it follows along behind you. You know that it's there, you know that it's keeping up with you. You know that it's keeping an eye on you. You barely care anymore. You whistle back. The light starts to go down, and you see the moon rising. But you also see smoke. You see smoke on the horizon. It's coming from beneath the canopy. It's the first thing to really catch your attention all day. You pick up the pace, And you realise that smoke means settlement, smoke means something, smoke means someone. And as you get closer, you can start to hear voices, laughter. You can hear the sounds of people. They're not speaking in a language you understand, but you know that it's the elves. You pick up the pace as the sun is setting, the moon is rising, and you hear far behind you, and chilling your blood to the bone, you hear a response. As the woods start to come to life around you. You rush to the edge of the settlement, the wood elf village, and as you yell, "Werewolves! Werewolves! Please help! Werewolves!" the sight that greets you as you enter the elven town is one of laughing and joking elves sitting around a campfire in the centre of town, a permanent hearth, a fire pit. And next to the hearth, 3 stretchers with 3 heavily wounded and unconscious people lying on them. The elves looking down and smiling at them, turning towards you as you enter the village. The dog wants a bone. The dog wants a bone. You turn to see the farmer, having successfully harvested his entire harvest, walking into the village behind you. E-I-A-D-O. The dog wants a bone. Walking in beside the farmer, you see 3 other men. One of them is ginger, muscular, unkempt. His face is leathery. He has a big bushy beard, rough, large hands, long broken fingernails, rags for clothes, and clean, straight teeth. Another of them is sly. He is sprightly. He has darker hair and a sharper beak-like nose. And the last is a sort of slimy, slithery-looking gentleman with long features and yellow eyes. As they reach up and grab their own chests and skin and tear their human flesh from themselves, you see the one with the big bushy beard start to develop this orange fur from beneath. The one with the beak-like nose tears his face open as a corvid beak emerges from it, and the slithery one sheds his skin from his mouth first, tearing at his own face, ripping his head back as a snake, human in size, slithers from his human torso. And the great bushy-bearded, orange-furred gentleman becomes a giant fox. As they rush you, that is where we're going to end the story for today. Thank you very much for joining me. Happy Halloween.
All hail the algorithm gods. Comment, like, and subscribe.